When leaders meet, the world watches. But sometimes, the masks drop. Power and ego, fear and pride collide with each other, creating moments that history will never forget.
Okay, just sit down, please.
These are the 12 such leadership encounters that went rogue in the internet. Number 12. Putin and his intelligence chief, Sergei Naryshkyn. In the corridors of the Kremlin, silence is often referred power. Unlike the organized televised discussions in the White House cameras, once captured a rare and chilling moment. Vladimir Putin publicly questioning his own intelligence chief during a televised security meeting. The world watched the man. One of Russia's highest-ranking officers stumbled over his words.
В противном случае вы предлагаете начать переговорный процесс?
Okay, just sit down, please.
At number 11, we have Donald Trump and CNN reporter Jim Acosta being messy at the White House press room. Obviously, in the White House press room, words are weapons, and Donald Trump is always armed with his weapons of words. During one unforgettable exchange, CNN's Jim Acosta pressed the president on immigration policy. Trump's tone shifted sharply.
Well, when you report fake news, no.
Trump saw CNN as the symbol of a system that questioned his legitimacy, mocked his methods, and never gave him credit. For his supporters, it was dominance, but for critics, it was danger. Either way, Trump showed that in his world, he is the boss, and he demands respect by any means. At number 10 list, this encounter began as a tension between a journalist and a leader. Megyn Kelly, sharp and unflinching, asked Vladimir Putin the question that unsettled half the world: did Russia interfere in the US elections? Putin smirked, leaning back with a cunning smile. His reply was half denial and half performance, dripping with irony.
Same, that Russia interfered with the US election.
Have you read those reports?
Number 9. When Xi Jinping and Justin Trudeau broke their protocol? At the 2022 G20 summit in Bali, what began as routine diplomacy turned tense. Cameras caught China's Xi Jinping confronting Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, accusing him of leaking private talks to the media. Beneath the exchange lay months of strain after Canada arrested Huawei executive Mcmahan on US orders, and China detained Canadian citizens in retaliation. Trudeau stood firm, saying, "In Canada, we believe in free and open dialogue." His defense of transparency clashed with Xi's belief in controlled diplomacy. But did the world enjoy this? Two leaders' encounters of this seriousness. At number 8, we selected this famous encounter of US President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House Oval Office. Trump sat back with his signature confidence, commanding the room and expecting respect as if it were owed. While Zelensky was new to global politics, yet proud of his independence, he refused to appear submissive, believing diplomacy should stand on equal footing. But their tones never actually matched, so their discussions ended like this.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
At number 7, it was more than a factory visit. Rather, it was a showcase of power in Russia. Vladimir Putin arrived at an industrial plant in Pikolyovo, where workers had gone unpaid for months after factory owners refused to compensate them. The oligarchs had been ignoring government orders, and among them stood billionaire Oleg Deripaska, being silent and hesitant, even in front of Putin himself. Putin's patience wore thin. In front of cameras, he demanded accountability, calling for the contracts to be signed immediately. Everyone obeyed except Deripaska. Putin's tone immediately hardened, while his eyes fixed firmly on Deripaska. The billionaire, visibly shaken, finally complied. That signature wasn't just ink on paper, it was routine submission for whoever disobeyed Putin in Russia. At number 6, the famous encounter between Trump versus WWE chairman Vince McMahon. During a live event, Trump's moments with Mcmahan turned actual, when Mcmahan, trying to playfully outstage him, treated Trump like an ordinary man and attempted to twist a handshake into play. At first, Trump took it cold but calmly, but as soon as Mcmahan did this, Trump decided what he's supposed to do next. Number 5. You have probably seen the famous encounter in which the former Chinese premier, Hu Jintao, was dragged from the parliament. The security personnel were seen grabbing his shoulder. Cameras caught him looking confused, trying to speak to Xi Jinping, who sat motionless, and his expressions were unreadable. Apparently, the whole scene was staged. It seemed as though Xi Jinping did not know what was happening, but in reality, nothing happens in Chinese politics without the quiet approval of the top leader. The world watched in push, but more pushing was the expression on former Premier Hu Jintao's face. At number 4, Megyn Kelly interviewed Putin for the second time. This time also on the same topic and with the same determined attitude. She tried to box in Putin's answers regarding the 2016 US election. Obviously, this time also Putin denied his role in US election with the same tactics of diplomacy. In this second interview with the Russian leader, she pressed him relentlessly about election interference in the United States. Putin smirked with his typical denial, but this was one of the hardest interviews he had ever faced. You can see how his speech stumbles again and again while answering Kelly.
Yes, but still a pretty large number.
He's pretty
You
prominent.
said that he's well known, so what?
Number 3. If you like politics, you have probably heard about the verbal debates between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, because their relationship is quite opposite to being normal. They may make formal handshakes, but it is almost a big story about exactly how they became opponents. During the 2020 presidential debate, when both candidates were given time to speak about their campaigns, it was Biden's turn to speak. While he was making his speech, Trump dramatically interrupted him again and again. But what Biden replied might be one of the best moments of what an arch-rival can say in a calm and almost friendly manner.
Left. Would you shut
is
up,
on-
man?
listen,
Who is on your list?
This is so
He's going to pack the court.
Number 2. Emmanuel Macron and the boy who called him by his nickname. Yes, this may not be an encounter between two leaders head-to-head, but rather at a public gathering of school children. A boy suddenly called the French president with his nickname. Obviously, he took a long time to correct the boy, but either way, this showed how fragile ego and authority can be. Before we finish, here are some honorable mentions beside our list. Obama in the White House to the invited guest.
Hold on a second. Listen, you're in my house.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio on a random guy on TV interview.
Here's a question.
Don't touch me again, man. I'm asking you not to touch me.
Well, sure, I'll just pat you nicely.
I know.
And in our number 1 list, we have the famous encounter between Justin Trudeau and Vladimir Putin at an international summit. Justin Trudeau almost touched Putin's shoulder, immediately breaking protocol. To most people, it looked like harmless diplomacy. But to Putin's bodyguards, it was a serious breach. One man immediately stepped forward, ready to act. However, Putin raised his hand, signaling the bodyguard to stand down. After giving the signal, he calmly walked away. The moment lasted only seconds, but it spoke volumes. In Putin's world, personal space is territory that cannot be crossed. Analysts saw it as a calculated move, a chance for Putin to appear composed and formal. A slight miscalculation could have escalated everything, but his brief control showed how delicate responsibility in politics can be.